Last year, I was at a party, and it was great to meet other young and ambitious 20-somethings in New York. Lots of people congratulated me for my new role at BCG, but they often also asked me, "What do you do? What kind of projects does somebody working at BCG work on?" And for a while, I tried to think of the best answer for that question. How should I explain to somebody with no knowledge of consulting what I'm spending almost 70 hours a week of my time on? Was it being a therapist for CEOs? Brains for hire? Or a doctor for business? Close friends of mine would joke that consultants don't really do anything, and that it's just a salesy industry with a bunch of smoke and mirrors, full of egotistical individuals who can't decide what they want to do, so they choose the most prestigious but also ambiguous career path in business: consulting. My name is Matt Huang, and I'm a current associate at BCG, which is a management consulting firm. Management consulting is a very hot field for a lot of fresh business school grads. But a lot of people outside of consulting don't actually know what consultants do. And so it's a common question to be asked, what do you do for work? And to be quite honest, it's a tough answer to give because what consultants do often varies based on what type of project they're working on. And firms like McKinsey, Bain, and BCG work with such a diverse array of clients that you're going to end up just naturally working on a very diverse array of projects. So for example, what a large Fortune 50 publicly traded corporation is going to be hiring you for is going to be very different than what a smaller private equity firm looking to buy a business is going to be needing from BCG. And so the scope of work will vary dramatically based on what type of client you're working with. I've had colleagues who have been staffed on 8-month-long implementation projects with large Fortune 50 companies where they have had to travel every day and have had a lot of interaction with clients, but relatively good hours. Whereas on the other hand, other colleagues of mine have been staffed on 3 or 4 week due diligence assignments for private equity firms where they have been working on a very fast-paced project with a lot of long hours and just a totally different scope of work than what you might find on an implementation project. But that brings me to the topic of today's video, which is the private equity due diligence. Let's get into it. So what is a due diligence? A due diligence is a type of case that involves a very rigorous research process to understand a single company and the market that it competes in. And broadly speaking, there's 2 types of diligences: a buy side and a sell side. A buy side diligence is when a private equity firm or hedge fund is interested in buying or investing in a company and hires you to assess the attractiveness of the company and the market. A sell side diligence is when a company is looking to sell or raise outside capital and hires you to create a report that highlights the merits and considerations to potential investors. So with the buy side, you're really trying to be objective about whether this company is attractive. Whereas with the sell side, you're working with the company to create a positive story for potential buyers or investors while still being as honest as possible. So generally speaking, every diligence is going to follow a similar 4-step framework in terms of what sort of analysis you're going to be doing. First, there's the competitive landscape module. Then there's the survey module. Then there is the market sizing module. And finally, there is usually a company overview module. And as a junior associate at a consulting firm, you're typically going to be owning one of these 4 modules. And over the course of the case, going to be the expert in that particular piece of analysis. So for example, if you are tasked with the competitive landscape module, typically what this involves is doing a lot of expert interviews, which is when you speak with people who are working at competitors or people who are working in the industry, just have deep industry knowledge or are just related to the business to get an outside perspective on the company. And if you're tasked with the company overview module, you're going to be doing a lot of management interviews and understanding the company from the inside out and how management views the company itself. If you're staffed with the survey module, then you are going to be doing a lot of work coding and writing a survey, which is going to give us a lot of insights from consumers oftentimes on the business and the product, what consumers care about, and a lot of attributes related to the demographics of the customer base. If you're tasked with the market sizing module, you're going to be spending a lot of time in Excel putting together a market model, which takes a bunch of inputs and spits out the total addressable market of the business. So really just understanding the size of the market and whether or not it's potentially growing or shrinking over time. So the ultimate goal here is to, after you've gathered all the data points on the company and the market, come to some sort of recommendation or at least an informed opinion as to whether or not this company is an attractive investment and whether or not the market is growing and attractive as well. And oftentimes the due diligence work that's done by firms like McKinsey, Bain, or BCG is one of the most important pieces of diligence that goes into the investment process of a private equity firm. Now, obviously, these PE firms will have their own investment processes for determining whether or not a business is a good investment, but they will heavily weight the analysis that gets done from the survey, the market sizing module, the competitive landscape module, and the company overview. Due diligences are not something that everybody likes because oftentimes by virtue of them being fairly short, like 3 to 4 weeks, they're just very intense, and also the clients can be quite demanding. And so it's not for everybody. Also, the type of work that you're getting as a junior consultant is very different from other projects, and there's a little bit less client interaction than some other projects because you're typically not going to be traveling to the client site or interacting with the client that often. That said, due diligences are a really great way to gain a very robust quantitative and qualitative skill set over a very short period of time. And so if you're a fresh grad out of college in consulting and you don't really know what you want to do, you really can't go wrong with doing a diligence or two. In the worst case scenario, you find out that you don't want to do these again and it's over fairly quickly. And in the best case scenario, you learn a lot and you find a case that you really like and that you want to continue doing. And it also sets people up very well for roles in private equity because you're very good at understanding what makes a good market and a good business. So that's it for this video. And if you're currently a student who's looking to get into consulting, you might want to check out my video on Case Interview 101, where I lay out a bunch of tips and best practices for casing. Otherwise, if you like the video, feel free to give it a like, subscribe, or let me know in the comments below what type of content you'd like me to put out in the future.